Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Call the Ramsey County meeting to order. Start off the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes.
Move to approve.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I got a second, but on the second to last paragraph, seconded by commissioner, didn't give a name. And I didn't go back to look to see who it was.
On the emergency disaster declaration.
Yeah. So we have a motion and a second with
Seconded.
that fit.
Yeah.
All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Approval of the agenda that we have in front of us.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion. We have a motion. We have a second to approve the agenda that we have in front of us. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Denton?
I handed out a copy of the approved budget from last night's Board of Health meeting. The only two things to note over last year, I guess, would be increasing cost of healthcare. We don't have the exact numbers yet, but we're predicting probably around 10 to 15% again. We budgeted in 10, and then the board also voted to approve 2% cost of living increase. Otherwise, it's no different than the year before.
Anybody have any questions on the budget that we have from Denton?
Well, one thing to mention too, if you're looking at the mills on the back page, we do not have Eddie County finalized. It's going to go up a little bit. They don't have utilities on that number yet. I'm still waiting for that. So when the joint meeting will be October 6th, that's the first Tuesday in October, when we all get on the conference call. And before that, I'll make sure that everybody has the accurate land value so you see where the mills are at.
They still count their wind tower?
I don't know what's going on there.
So the mill levy actually dropped as of right now until we get that.
It'll drop a little bit more because their values will go up because she sent me their value without utilities. So whatever the state assesses for utilities.
Okay. You're looking for a motion to
Going forward, yeah, just here to get decide against whether or not to approve it or not.
You set a time for that public hearing?
8:30 p.m.
No other major changes?
Nope. Not that I'm aware of anyway.
Thank you. Move to approve. Oh, you don't need no motion.
No, it's just, this is just so that we have these in front of us so that we know for October 6th where what we're looking at.
And if you do come up with any questions in the meantime, you can always let me know. I'll try and get them answered for you.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Sandy? Mobile Career Exploration Classroom.
Hello, Sandy Shiloh, Executive Director of North Central Planning Council. On June 24th, I had sent a letter in care of Candy requesting continuation funding for the Mobile Career Exploration Classroom. This is a project where the economic development leaders, directors of our 6-county region, North Dakota Region 3. It's a project that we came up with in 2023. We applied for Regional Workforce Impact Program funding to fund a vehicle. And that grant funding was spent to procure a vehicle and have it reconfigured for a mobile classroom. And we use virtual reality videos to expose high school students to future careers. The intent of the program is to try to keep them in our region, or once they receive their education, to come back to our region. I brought pictures. I believe most of you were here last year on the commission, except maybe Ed, when we were here. And so most of you, I think, are familiar with the Mobile Career Exploration Classroom. We do go out to all the high schools in the region, and twice a year, at least twice a year, sometimes more. And the funding request is for the 2027 year. So last year you did approve funding for 2026, and we are halfway through that. We still have the fall of 2026. You can see on the second page of the letter, and I believe you got a copy of the letter. On the second page of the letter is the budget. So the total budget for the 1 year of operation is $72,859, and that gets split between all 6 counties. You are our last request, and not to pressure you, but the other counties all did approve their funding request to continue the program. And the other participants are Forward Devils Lake, Benson County Job Development Authority, Towner County EDC, New Rockford Area Betterment Corporation, Rolette County, Eddy County, and Cavalier County JDA. And the request to Ramsey County is the $10,634. And you can see the budget there of $72,859.
Do you have any statistics of, since we started this, how many people have come back to the area? Or to the region that we're supporting, I guess, if you want to call it that?
We do not have those numbers, but Ann is here. Ann Pollard is our career coach, and she can speak to the visits with the students and the virtual reality videos.
And then one other question.
Yep.
Have we reached out to other counties that are close by?
We don't. It's been a Region 3 project, so we've kept it to the 6 counties in Region 3. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. If we went outside the area, then, I mean, we could limit the amount of time we can spend in our counties.
Thank you.
And you want to?
Good evening, Ann Pollard, representing North Central Planning, career coach for the van. It's meant to be as a resource. Like, I've seen thousands of kids. So to track every kid and whether they came back, I just don't have that time. So when they're in the van, I typically have 6 students at a time viewing different resources. There are kids that I know that have done job shadows, that have been set up with work-based learning, that are now utilizing career builder scholarships, but are there specific statistics on how many kids came back to this area or chose to stay in this area because of this resource? No. And again, it's a resource. It's not the solution for workforce or retaining our students. It has to be used with the school and the community and the business and other programs.
All the schools have been very open about this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And some, I go to a lot of like parent teachers conferences sometimes they'll have reading fairs that are well attended. So some will use me as part of school activities as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen it. I've actually put the headset on a couple times.
Yeah. And like Maddock is a smaller school. And so that school, one of my visits was just sitting down with every one of their juniors and seniors one-on-one, talking about their plan, making sure, they had an idea of what college they were going to, just kind of, rather than just doing a van visit, just sitting down with their juniors and seniors one-on-one saying, okay, how can we help? What's your plan? Are you aware of Career Builder? Do you need a summer work experience or anything like that. So the schools can utilize the van kind of however they wish.
So how often does your stuff update?
You get new videos pretty much quarterly through CareerView. So we have a subscription to CareerView XR, and that's the company that actually creates the 360 videos. And so every quarter we usually get new videos. Not a lot, I would say 4 to 6 new videos. So then I just update the headsets every time they come out with new videos. North Dakota Department of Transportation just partnered with them, and there's 4 like highway transportation. One is a diesel technician. I don't know all the titles. So those are just coming out now. And I get to give feedback on that too. Like one careers that I get a lot of requests on from students.
I see a lot of trades.
Mhm.
Like, is that more than you would think of the 4-year? I'm just asking because it's such a need.
Yeah, I would say it's more. I mean, there's a lot electrical, there's a lot HVAC, plumbing. I mean, there's a lot of 4 years too, but I mean, I would say it's probably 60-40 more trades. Yeah. And it also depends on what grades you're seeing too, because sometimes 8th graders, they dream big and they have a lot of different ideas of what they want to do, whereas juniors and seniors. And I do encourage, some kids come in and say, oh, I want to do this. You don't have it. Well, what else are you interested in? Because part of that is kids. I mean, think back to your career exploration. Did you know what you wanted to do when you grew up? But they don't even know what's out there. So showing them videos of things that they're not necessarily thinking about, but knowing from just a few questions that they might have the skill set for and be good at, and saying, hey, I suggest this. And maybe they only watch a minute or 2 of it and they want to move on. But, trying to get them to look at other things too that they might be good at or have the skill set for.
Great. Anybody else have any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So where do we move with this? Is this something that we make a motion, or we just have this for the budget? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 6. Brady, you can. Let's let 15 minutes.
Trying to keep it within 15 minutes. Okay, commissioners, Brady Ashford, Devils Lake Economic Development. So just formally requesting the release of funds for the 26 fiscal year. Of course, I just want to thank you guys for your continued partnership. From here on out, I think I'd like to start making visits a bit more regular. I was thinking on a quarterly basis. That way, it's just all parties are in the loop. Everybody's staying informed. Doesn't feel like anyone's being kept in the dark. So if that's acceptable to you guys, that is something that I'll push to do. But just to kind of get into it, business retention does continue to be a priority along with recruiting new businesses as well. But I feel like taking care of the businesses we already have is equally as important. Some of the projects that I have been working on, but also have ideas for, have to do surrounding housing, business expansions. I mean, as far as our housing conversations, it has to do with short-term and long-term. So when I say short-term, I don't mean Airbnbs or VRBOs. Short-term has to do with 3 to 6 month leases. So interns coming here, maybe teachers are coming to the area who can't secure apartments or find a house that they like, just to get them into something temporarily until they find something a bit more permanent. As always, feel free to interrupt at any time if you guys have any questions. So, I mean, as far as the construction projects, they do take some time. I mean, these projects can take months, maybe even years, just because of the amount of time, meetings, and because of confidentiality. We can't always discuss specifics, but just know that these conversations are
state. Canadian manufacturing outreach. Some of our EDC partners around the state are doing some outreach to those businesses because they want to be in the United States. So that is something that I look forward to exploring. Just kind of move on. One of the biggest things that we have is roughly 25 close to the community meetings, and really those meetings have a purpose to engage with our businesses, residents, employers, to do kind of a check-in, address concerns or opportunities that they see locally, and just any suggested improvements that they may have. And some of the businesses that we talk to have to do with financial institutions, hospitality and tourism groups, retail, utility companies, value-added banks, and so on. But the good news from those conversations is that people are staying optimistic, even though it's kind of a cautious optimism. And when I say a cautious optimism, there's a good thing with it. You know, people are confident about our strong school system, our improving healthcare system, of course, our recreation and tourism. But the big concern, you know, the agriculture system, everyone feels it. Retail, restaurant, hospitality groups, all this together. So as that happens, we just look to hopefully improve that down the line. But the biggest takeaway from these meetings is that we stay proactive instead of reactive. Being able to continue that outreach, continue with our communication. And one idea that we have discussed is some sort of short-term rental registration, and I guess that differs from what I said before. So when I say short-term rental registration, I talk about Airbnbs and VRBOs. So we do have a ton of Airbnbs in our county, and the registration process is more so to keep neighbors informed, EMS informed, but also it allows us to collect that data and use it for analytical purposes. So this is something that would need to be a city and a county partnership. And I'm hoping down the road we can work together to do something like that. That idea came to light a couple of months ago. It had to take a back burner for now, but hopefully in the near future we can start those conversations. But speaking of rentals, housing does continue to be a workforce challenge. You know, from apartments, housing rentals. You know, I was able to do some outreach with some of our apartment managers and owners just to kind of ask for some data. You know, how many beds and baths are in each of your units? If they give it to me, I mean, I do ask what they charge for rent, more so for in-house analytical purposes. But the big one is, what's your vacancy rate? All of them have waiting lists. I mean, it's insane how many of these companies have waiting lists. So we are trying to encourage development, but with development, there's a lot of cost. Granted, there are incentives to developing, but overall the cost is what is keeping people from developing. So we are looking to try and propose some sort of housing incentive down the road, whether it's bigger tax abatements, or maybe some sort of builder buyer incentive program. There's been a couple of counties in the state that have done a builder buyer incentive program. Basically, assistance for closing costs, cash for down payments, and so on and so forth. Of course, that one is going to be a long project, but again, that's another goal in mind. To kind of switch gears with childcare. Childcare is also a big workforce impact, but also, you know, to kind of talk about Sunnyside childcare a little bit, that one was a big morale hit to the community. Sunnyside childcare closing on a 5-day notice. I mean, I understand why the owner needed to close up shop, but at the same time, we wanted to address the community saying, it's in our building, we hear you,
we need to move forward, but at the same time, we can't, as a city or a county, essentially just open up a daycare. We can't just reopen it and allow those kids and employees back. I mean, the logistics of it just didn't make sense. So the plan that we came up with was to issue an RFP, request for proposal. And originally, I planned on releasing an RFP specifically designated for future owners and operators of those who wanted to own a child care center. But at the advice of our city attorney, I did do some revisions, and I did put that RFP in your guys' packets just for reference. Basically, the RFP states that it's a leasing opportunity now for anyone in Devils Lake, Ramsey County who wants to potentially submit a proposal to lease that building. I mean, the past, how many years it's been used as a child care center? I believe it might have actually been built for the purpose of a child care center. But that RFP will be released tomorrow, and however many respondents we get, I think there's going to be a selection committee of 5 people to review the proposals, conduct interviews, and eventually select a final respondent. So, you guys have any questions at all so far? Okay. So we do try to continue investing in our future workforce, and as Ann talks about the mobile career classroom, I won't dive too deep into that, but she did mention Career Builders. So Career Builders is a scholarship program designed to line a student up with a business in which that they intend to work for someday. You know, if it's trade school, if it's in the trades, or if it's a dental hygienist, or if it is a 4-year school, maybe it's going to be a bank. We can line that student up with the business, and that business sponsors that student with generally it's a $2,500 scholarship. And then Forward Devils Lake and the Jobs Development Authority can come in with up to $6,000, making it $8,500. And then the North Dakota University system can match it dollar for dollar up to $17,000. So hopefully that student comes out with little to no debt.
Do businesses have to sign up for that to be involved in it, or do you wait? Do they wait until you have an interest from a student?
Either or.
Either.
Generally, I've seen it as the student approaches the business. My experience with it, I will meet with the student and I will go meet with the business, and then the business will sign up. But yes, I have seen it both ways.
And then that brings them back to
Devils Lake
as a commitment, or
yes, yep,
for a period of time.
At least 3 years. Granted, the contract with the university system does state that they can work within the state of North Dakota, but I mean, whatever the employer and the student do in terms of a separate contract saying, hey, you know, if you only work for me for a year, you have to pay back the $2,500 scholarship that I gave you, you know, something of that nature. But I mean, we have around 40 active students right now from the area or have moved to the area for the Career Builders program. So it's been a good program.
You've got 40 students that take this? I mean,
we have around 40 active students, yes. Yeah. And
how many years?
I believe it started in 2019. My predecessor did something similar just at a local level, but then it was brought to state legislature and they made it a state program. Good. With university system. So as far as business assistance goes, just some numbers roughly. In 2025, we were able to approve about $200,000 worth of loans with nearly $2 million in investments. So, and I would like to note those $200,000 didn't go out the door right away, but those are commitments over X amount of years. So those are, I'd say probably 90% of that $200,000 was involved in flex-based interest buy-down loan programs with the Bank of North Dakota. So we do invest those dollars with Bank of North Dakota. Generally, it's over a period of 5 years. And in 26, we've approved about $70,000 worth of loans with just under $500,000 invested privately. So, I mean, these dollars do help close the financing gaps that allow the projects to move forward. So, as far as business assistance, one other item in the pipeline that I'd like to get moving forward is a business incubator or a business accelerator. The city of Grafton JDA has a business incubator right on their main street. And if you're not familiar with an incubator or an accelerator, it's a program designed to help early stage startups and new entrepreneurs. So if somebody's looking to start their own marketing company, or if they want to start their own restaurant, again, I can use Grafton as an example. They specifically rehabbed an older building and they put a commercial kitchen in it. They have meeting spaces, they have private offices, and you can sign up for a membership in that building and you can essentially rent it for X amount of hours per week for a small fee per month. So I think it's a good idea. However, of course, there's always a factor of cost, but long-term investment is going to be investing in the community and our future entrepreneurs. So again, no commitments on that, but it is an idea that I would like to see move forward. So again, just want to say I appreciate you guys' your partnership. I look forward to meeting with you guys more than once a year. I'm thinking quarterly, like I said, if that
I
works.
think that'd be a great idea. Brady had talked to me about that, and I think it's an excellent idea to have him come in quarterly. And we can set something up with him, the chairman.
Then I can bash you a little bit more.
It works.
So,
You guys have any questions? I mean, it was kind of a lot in a short amount of time, but if you have questions.
I mean, really good information. I like the 40 students granted, look at a period of time with the community that we are at.
Mhm.
You look at 2 to 5 a year, that's probably a huge,
Big.
Yeah.
that's just from what you're showing.
Yep.
Not showing what others have probably done.
Right.
I know some of the dealerships have already started paying some of the kids' schools to go to school.
Yeah.
Without the community, it's not going to work.
Yeah, there's a good chunk of students in the program that are with the dealerships around town. Some of them are teachers in our public school system. I mean, it's a great program. I always encourage students to
The more people
look
that
at
use it, the more word that gets out how it
Right.
works, and then it just stems from that.
exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brady. Brady. Thanks, Brady.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, moving on. It's a couple minutes before 6, and then we can move on to the public hearing. Right?
A request for release of funding, is that something that we do for Brady?
That was
Because we approved that in this year.
Yeah.
Correct.
that should already been done. We approved it, Jeff.
Yeah.
Ready?
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you, Brady. It's great. Okay. Anybody else there, John? Yep. Come on up. As of right now, public hearing, Ramsey County South Snake Clear Project. John.
Okay.
On the end of April of 26, the Water Board received a petition from representatives of Ontario Township requesting a snag and clear. You should have the actual legal descriptions in your packets. It's basically the top of it would be southwest of Roarville down to Highway 2, approximately 6.5 miles long. The last 3 miles of this that proposed snag and clear are mostly an easement, fish and wildlife easement, and conversations have been had by the water board and by the proposed contractor to take and clear any questions that there might be about what can and cannot be done. The project is approximately $59,000 total. 56 of that digging and the rest administrative cost. We're looking at somewhere right around 12 to 14 year payback. The payback, or what would be collected each year, is a little over $60 to $100. Any questions on the proposed snag and clear?
Any questions for John? This comes out right, we're at Highway 2?
It comes down to Highway 2, correct?
Yeah, but what location? I know it says 91st Avenue, but where the crow flies, what would that be? Do you know? Southwest of Curve? Oh, okay. So when it goes under Highway 2, is that out by your guys' place out there? I was just curious, so that it's not something that wrecks the highway type thing.
Yep.
Anybody from out in the crowd have any anything to add? Hearing none. John?
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I take it everybody here is for the support of it. We have nobody.
Yes, sir. We have one question, Jeff.
Where did you please come up to the mic, please?
Jeff Olson. Where would the project actually start? Would it start at the south end or start at the north end?
It'll start at the south end. Our contractor too.
Yeah, because if you start at the north end, you pool up with water that way. That's the question that why you're asking, I imagine. Anybody else?
Brian Johnson, the potential contractor. So we would, just for everybody to know, we'd start by cleaning the culverts on Highway 2 and then trying to get a little water out of Prairie Flats, working with Fish and Wildlife, and then work up. And then the next goal would to get some hot water off of the highway, old Highway 2 they call it, and then tying into some previous work, and then wrapping around the Roarville where all the real water problems are kind of north of Highway 2, Old 2. But so you're talking about Highway 2 is, I think Highway 2 is 11 feet higher than Prairie Flats at that point, something in that area. So not something that can affect Highway 2. Just not the way it works.
I'm just asking because that would be the big one.
Yeah, that's people ask, and liability and all this stuff. So it's all under control. I think it's a 24 or a 30-inch under Highway 2, and water's kind of stalled there, but it does slowly empty and drain down. The coulee on the south side is plenty big to handle. The small amount of water that actually goes through the culvert. So not a real tidal wave going that way, but slowly helps.
Right. One question. What's a culvert under Highway 2 like?
Yeah, it's a concrete culvert. I think it's a 24 or a 30 now that I probably have it in my notes.
Okay.
It's pretty plugged up, cattails, but it does slowly get down to about the middle of it. Okay. The water does. I've been jumping off and checking it every once in a while to make sure it does move. There's one that I've seen. Yeah, there's only one fence. Well, there's only one marker post, so I can only see one culvert being there. And no, it's choked up with cattails, but it functions. Otherwise, you'd have a big lake on the north side too, right?
I meant to ask you a question on country.
So that's about all I got to say about it. That slowly helps one of the farmsteads north of, or right near Highway 2 up there. Mm-hmm. Is kind of one of the things, and the highway itself. So anyway, not much.
Thank you.
And that stays within an existing waterway?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It'll be determined the line.
John, please.
Yeah.
So Paul Bjornson, KLJ Engineering. I guess we made the map for it. The green shading is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife easement, so that's kind of the main concern on it. But they're working through that. The total length of that pink line on the map is 8.62 miles, but they're only cleaning, the spots between the sloughs. There's a lot of open water along this route, so he's not digging for that full length. None of the culverts are going to change on any of the roadways, so it's not going to increase any flows. It's just to maintain the existing water course, I think Jeff asked about, and relieve the cattails and stuff like that, so the water can get out the way it's supposed to go. The snake and clears can't change drainage. It's not adding any new water to the lake or anything like that. It's just cleaning the existing drainage course.
Do you know, are you going through any WRPs? Wetland reserve programs, easements? And
Like USDA.
USDA easements?
With all the green on there, I don't know if there's room for any of that, but I guess we didn't look at that.
Well, those require a permit similar to U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Okay, looks like there'd only be about 3 parcels that aren't under Fish and Wildlife.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you then, Jeff.
Yep.
Fish and Wildlife does not require a permit because we are not draining any of their easement land. It is totally a clearing of vegetation and silt. So
right,
does WRP require for any just removal of vegetation?
It would require that, and similar to what U.S. Fish and Wildlife did, similar to what they did on the Clara Bartlett Snag and Clear program. They granted you a temporary easement or access to their fish and wildlife easements through there to allow drainage through their easement areas.
And that is different than just cleaning. Drainage versus cleaning is not one and the same. That's why I'm asking if the WRP
Well-
requires the same permit or not.
So that's something that you would have to talk with the district conservationist about. And she had indicated that there's been several of these ongoing that she has developed some concern over. And people need to be aware of, if they have an easement through USDA, that similar situations that US Fish and Wildlife would have requirements. So they're willing to grant it, but they just need to be asked for permission, I guess.
And that's why all landowners are notified
Yeah.
that this is
Yep.
potentially could happen. So,
Correct.
because one thing about any of these projects, the contract is not between the water board and USDA or Fish and Wildlife. It is between the landowner and or Fish and Wildlife. So it is their responsibility to take and look into that.
Right. They get paid for those easements, and they have received the payments for it, but it is your project that you're paying the contractor to complete, correct? And you're assessing landowners for that.
We are assessing landowners. It is the petitioner's project.
No,
We just are the middleman that handles it.
okay.
About 99% of those contracts, the money was up front.
Well, the WRP has, they're a 30-year easement out there, and they were payments up front, but they have requirements on those payments on what you can and can't do. Correct. Yeah, and that's what their concern is. And so we don't want to get landowners in hot water with the federal government.
A lot of the landowners never received $1 from it. The present landowners.
These are 30-year easements that were signed recently. So
Some are longer than that.
well, that's U.S. Fish and Wildlife easements that were signed up back in the 60s and 70s. So those are different than the USDA.
You can go back
easements.
farther than that. Too.
Well, yes. Yep.
No, it's good for the roads. It helps the roads. No doubt. Helps farming ability.
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just wanting to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
But it's good that people hear some of the history
Yeah.
of some of these contracts that were written.
No, yeah.
And attached to land deeds. The abstracts.
Any other comments from the public or commission, I guess?
Kind of hard of hearing, so I didn't hear exactly what we're supposed to be. This is where we have questions.
Yes.
Okay, Rick Schwab is my name. Okay, to come out of the Prairie Flats, you're going to have to go across our land. Is that going to be a ditch dug through there? There's a U.S. Fish and Wildlife easement on that. How is the water going to come out of there?
Come out of there.
Yeah.
Free flows out the southeast corner of that. Through.
Well, it's got to come up a few more feet before it's going to come out, though, right?
I don't know what exact elevation of that. No, I don't.
Well, you remember a few years ago when water came through there and went under the highway?
Oh, yeah, I remember that quite well.
Yeah. So I just don't understand.
It's happened numerous times.
Okay, so the only place for it to get out of the Prairie Flats, would that be on our corner of land coming out of there? Okay, well, in the meantime, everybody's dumping this water in here and it's flooding up into our field and it's going to drown out all our trees along there. And it's got to come up several feet before it's going to go out on its own.
And there's easements on that particular piece.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah. But that's the only way. It's the only way the water's going to come out of there is to dig a trench through there. And you're going to have to, and I don't have a problem with that. I'd like to see that happen.
Right.
But U.S. Fish and Wildlife's gonna have to sign off on that, right?
They don't
It's-
have that, I don't believe yet.
It's not a very long stretch, it's, maybe an eighth of a mile before it gets to the section line that can run on its own, but it's gonna have to come up a few more feet before it's gonna come out on its own. And in the meantime, when are you looking at draining this water from up north?
My understanding is gonna start happening here in probably the next 30 days. Am I right, Brian?
So to address Mr. Schwab, right?
Yeah.
The first thing we do is
I'll just address the first thing we would do is I've been working with some of the locals, and we put a culvert in the ground that's been built up for the crossing to get to the north 10 acres there. So that's the first thing that we do is put a culvert in there where I don't know if Neil or previous farmers built that up to get through right on the section line.
You put the culvert on the section line?
Yep. And then we have one easement that we'll have to, there's only one easement that is directly in the route that we need to do. It's half acre, 1 acre easement. We'll have to work with Fish and Wildlife on that. And we've been,
Is that what goes through my property?
yep. So you only have one easement that we have to directly deal with. And it's closer to the section. The ones closer to Prairie Flats, we can maneuver in between those and not affect them. And so the one easement will either find a way around it or find an elevation that these guys are comfortable with on it. So that's your first. So the very first thing we do is get Prairie Flats flowing out of there. Before we dump any water into Prairie Flats, we got to resolve the Prairie Flats issue.
Because
So,
it's a problem right now.
yeah, I agree.
The sooner we get it out, the better.
So the second time I looked at it, it was 40 feet wider than the first time I looked at it. The Prairie Flats, it kind of out of the first time I looked at it, it's on tillable ground, and the second time I looked at it, it's 40 feet further out. So that's mission number one right there. So not just so he's comfortable. That's where we start, is resolving that.
Thank you, Brian.
Go the other. Yep. Well, that's the junction of Ramsey 2 and 3. That's where it starts up further, little to the north of there.
Is it to the left, right?
Starts to the right, right south of Roar.
Oh, right there. Good with that, Rick? You're good with that explanation?
Yeah, I guess what I was wondering about, so they're going to attempt to work with Fish and Wildlife to get approval to cut a channel through there then?
John?
Okay.
As long as it's free flow, you really don't need to ask Fish and Wildlife anything other than cleaning cattails. You're just cleaning cattails, let the water free flow, then they're kind of out of the picture. I guess they'll be aware of it, be made aware of it, but
But it's not gonna free flow on its own.
no, when it coming out of the Prairie Flats, it's gonna have to.
It's gonna have to be
gonna have to be some elk there.
And so if wildlife goes along with it, would this be a temporary ditch or a permanent ditch? Or we don't know that.
Don't know. Probably.
Yeah.
And somebody goes back and fills it in, I suppose.
Well, I'd like to see a legal ditch stay there.
Agree with you.
You know, that's what I'd like to see.
I don't think the wet cycle went away.
No. So if we could get a legal ditch through there, I don't care how deep it is. It needs to get out of it. So, but like I say, and I don't know how long the easement is on the Fish and Wildlife. A lot of them are 100 years, 99 years, I believe. And so there's probably 40 years left on something like that. I don't know. I didn't look into it,
But as long as you're not draining the wetland, they should be okay with it, correct, John?
That's what I've been told.
Yeah. So,
As long as you're not protected by.
right. So you should be okay, Rick.
okay. I mean, as far as for birds and stuff, that area would be way better for birds if it was down about 10 feet.
Yeah.
The water.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Anybody else have anything to add?
Dave Puckmeyer. I was wondering, I'm living right there off the Roarville Road to the east.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, and you did a ditch, cleaned out the ditch there, cattails, and then brought the water underneath the road, pulled through. But it's backing up into my yard.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, there's gonna be a little snag and clear going south there, right, Brian? Gonna be down here shortly.
Okay.
We're ready on the south end.
And you start at the south, and that'll be done before the water comes.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, Brian?
The water not coming faster than this right now.
For the culvert.
Yes. So from now on,
Okay.
we've done
Okay. Didn't take any of your fruit trees, did it?
Well, I don't have a lot of trees anymore there. But the water is still coming in.
It's pretty slow now.
Yeah, well, it's not going down.
I was down on the south end there, ponies today, and it's not flowing there at all.
But it's backing up.
Yeah. But as we get that cleaned out to the south, yeah, it will take more.
Mm-hmm. And those cattails will pass through there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? John?
I will ask for motion from the Ramsey County Water Board for or against proposed second clear for the Ramsey County South project. Is there a motion from the Water Board? For or against? I have a motion. Is there a second? Dwayne second. Is there any further discussion by the board? Hearing none. Stacy, roll call vote. Yes. Motion passed.
A motion passes from the water board. Now that moves on to the commission, correct?
Make a motion to approve this snag and clear south.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Roll call, please.
Hodis.
All right.
Frith.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Wilhelmie.
Aye.
Bulk.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody, for showing up for this snag and clear. Moving on to Jason.
Let him clear the room.
Jason, afternoon.
Afternoon, everybody. We'll jump right into it. We are continuing working on the 5-door building. We got the quote there for Abe's Excavating to locate the water in the sewer, do the hookups and dig the graded sewer into the building. He's working with the floor contractor, Travis Buckmeyer, on that. So TJB Construction, and that was for $12,500 for that quote. So I'm asking for a motion to accept that.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next one, I took some quotes for some 2-inch minus crushed rock in some of these soft spot areas, mainly on 4 and 7, but we got one on 9 we're going to do, and a spot on 2 south of Penn as well. I measured up those spots. It came up to about 4,536 ton roughly on my estimates. I got 2 quotes there. I do have them here. I did not get them in your packet. If you guys would like a copy of the actual quotes, I do have them. The low quote was DS Construction at $21.37 per ton. And to do this amount of tonnage on these different sites, the total comes out to $112,956.48. And that's $7,000 under the target budget of $120,000 I had budgeted. So I'm asking for a motion to go ahead and move forward on fixing some soft spots.
So moved.
Second. We got a motion, we got a second. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The culvert order, we had to get a culvert order in or on the way. The culvert order is $42,785.92. These are for stockyard or resale culverts. So I put a little explanation in there for you guys, where they all went and why we needed it. So I'm asking for a motion to accept the culvert order so we can get those up here.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Anybody listening or waiting for culverts, they will be here tomorrow. Now that you guys accepted that, they'll send the truck tomorrow. They said they're just waiting to get the approval so we could get the load up here. So we'll have semis here tomorrow.
Thank you.
We had a request for a speed zone request. I haven't had a chance to get with the sheriff on this. It's been crazy for 2 weeks, but this would be right off of Ramsey County 9 on Ramsey County 4. Brady Pesek made the request. He'd like to see the speed limit slowed down to 25 miles an hour. It's about a half a mile or about a third, maybe a third of a mile there from 9 south past their farm. He's building a new house and he has little children there. So I don't know if that's something we want to move on with, or if you guys need more information on that, or talk with the sheriff on that and see about enforcing that.
What's the speed limit now?
It's 55 for cars and 40 for trucks.
This is gravel portion, correct?
Yeah, just the gravel portion there.
Your suggestion, Sheriff?
Well, he said just from 9 to south of their farm, because if you're going up 4 or coming down 4, there's stop signs that way. If you roll 9, you don't have to stop. You can take it as fast as you can make the corner, because there is no stop signs, especially if you're making a right turn or a left turn there. So, like I say, I apologize. I put it in here. I meant to get with Sheriff Lang, and I just never got to it.
What do you think?
You familiar with this? Is all right with that, Jason? Or
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to put all the traffic at 35, I would imagine. I'm assuming it's not trucks getting up to speed that fast. Pickups and cars that are going to in a half mile or whatever from that. It's probably not even a half mile. It's closer to quarter to a third of a mile. It's not very far. They're not that far from that intersection.
35 yard, right?
Okay. We'll try it. Yep. That's good. That's fair.
Motion.
We have the ability to put a,
Rumble strip in there.
well, like a children crossing or, hey, you know, something like that, give people kind of a little bit of a heads up that,
No, not any longer. They're not allowed anymore under state law.
oh,
You know, because it people take it the wrong way. Like it almost encourages to let their kids near the road.
oh,
Now motorists are supposed to watch for the children, so they basically banned those a couple years ago. People still put them up, but they're not put up by government entities any longer.
okay. Interesting.
I got a question for that. I can see where Brady's looking at, but how is that gonna get patrolled?
That's why I was going to try to get with Sheriff Lang about it and see if it's something that's going to get patrolled or how you enforce it. You know,
Do we need flashing light or something? Children that play or children that
The,
play in there?
we can't do those signs anymore, but we could. I mean,
I'm not very familiar with that.
yeah, I don't know what we can really do besides just try to post it and see if Sheriff has time to send somebody once in a while to just patrol it.
Get the water under or the road underwater also.
Yeah. Not funny after the last 2 weeks.
so what's speech would change? Doing part, we could use Facebook.
Yes, right.
But it would, I could schedule people to be up there, make an educational thing for the first few months and it's up. And then after that.
And we'll put like orange flags behind the new signs, you know, to draw attention to them, things like that we can do that are legal, that don't compromise the sign or the enforcement of the sign.
Yeah,
I think even just marking it as a lower speed limit should help bring attention to the fact that I must need to slow down for some reason.
Right.
Mm.
And I don't know, I'm not in law enforcement. I don't know if it's actually that big of a need. I don't know he is going to do the mag water thing if we can ever get that lined up. So that'll help too, because it'll keep the dust down. So the kids will be able to see, and so will the drivers if there's kids out there. So that will help. But yes. Okay. So I don't know if that needs a motion from you guys or if we can just do that now that we talked.
Just do that.
Okay, moving on to the next item.
Okay, the next item was a quote for the Ramsey County Cavalier line from Johnson Excavating. He had thrown out 12 to 15,000. He was able to get a better price on that. That'll be $13,800, and that's to get that 10-foot pipe back into place and backfill the road. So I'm asking for a motion to accept that and pay that when he gets that all turned in.
That's Ramsey's half then?
Nope, that's our half. That's the whole total. So we pay the bill. We handle that side. If we get funding or don't get funding, then we figure it out with Cavalier at that point. Because that crossing may change or this or that. But we handle that side for now. I don't remember if you guys, well, everybody got a copy of the county line agreements. Everything under $100,000 we take care of, and then we figure it out with them.
So this is just shoving the old rusted out pipe
back in the hole and made the road. Yep. So like people can drive. Yep. So we don't know if anything has to be changed there, like we talked last meeting, and we're going to wait and see if we get funding on some of this to see if we go forward with changing crossings or living with what we have until we can budget for them.
Mm.
But yes, we will be expecting to recoup half of that at some point. But for now, it's ours to take care of.
I'd move to accept it.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second.
With a question for both you and Mr. Johnson. Think that that's gonna suffice for upcoming flows potentially, or?
Well, we'll rock the ends really, really well compared to what we had there,
Okay.
and hope it buys us time through. I'd be more worried about spring.
Spring runoff.
Right, exactly.
That's what I'm concerned about.
But hopefully we know something by then, whether we're gonna get funding to help with it, or if we gotta try to find a way to find the money in our budget to repair it.
There was
permanently.
5 36 inchers in there,
No, there's one 10-footer in there.
10 foot.
One 10-foot round by 80 feet long.
Okay, what's the plan now? Go back to
Just use that pipe again and fill it in and get it rip wrapped and use the road.
That's what we did.
We did strain the channel, so water, when it comes to it, becomes directly to it a little bit better.
Yep.
So it ain't taking such an angle.
Yeah. And the curve right there, probably swirling. But 6 inches, you don't have to go anywhere, so.
Basically, we're looking to pay this.
Yep.
Pardon me?
We're looking for a motion to pay this, basically, because the work is already done.
Yep.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Already did.
Oh, motion is second. Roll call, please. Because we're paying it. Right?
We will be up.
Well, that's not what the request is for. Motion to accept the bid.
And to pay it when
Um,
I stated that
okay.
publicly here. When I get it.
So we're still good with the motion, you guys?
Yep.
Okay, roll call, please.
Otis.
Aye.
Frith.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Wilhelmie.
Aye.
Bulk.
Aye. Motion carries.
That's just another FYI. We got a few people on there with that. Our preliminary estimate total is up to $2,553,290.77. I have been speaking with Justin Mesner today. They are bringing a team of FEMA representatives here on Tuesday. He just notified me at 4:45. They're going to fly into Grand Forks on Monday. They'll be here Tuesday. We're going to split up into multiple groups. We're going to drive the whole county and look at all the sites. And then they'll make an assessment from there of what they feel is verified damages versus what we submitted for damages. And then we'll go from there.
Do you know in your conversations with Justin that other counties included in this?
Yep. Well, I know he said they've filed for the disaster declarations.
Okay.
Around us, the three right around us, immediately around us, Cavalier, Nelson, and going the other way, Towner.
Because I'm pretty sure that Ward and Botno counties had damages that same time period. So if we could get those.
Ward did too. Now that you say it, they had a railroad grade and something else wash out. The one project alone is about $400,000. So
If we could all piggyback together, that'd be.
yeah, it's all going to be one event. That's why they actually extended it a couple days. Now that you,
Okay.
Jeff, because they want to be allowed to get them in there. Ramsey County 9 is now open from Ramsey County 3 to 4. We took culvert from the yard and replaced the rusted culvert that was in there. So that one's open and going. Tomorrow we're going to do Ramsey County 9 the other direction. They have to replace the 36 or 24 inch that failed there. So, and then we'll have 9 all the way open again from 20 to all the way to the other side of 1. On the crossing 120-13, which is in Harding Township. I guess I should have gave you guys that information. It's 65th Street, I believe it is. It's straight east of Garski. There's 4 culverts in there. 3 of the culverts are good. One of them had collapsed inside of itself. It was an arch pipe. We had to go get a culvert to get that one up and going. The culvert costs will be $9,800, and Johnson's cost for the install was $2,000, not the original $4,000 that was first quoted. So I'm asking for a motion to accept these 2 costs and pay those when received. Invoices are received.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and we have a second to accept and pay when received. Roll call, please.
Otis.
Aye.
Frith,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Wilhelmie.
Aye.
Bulk.
Motion carries.
The next one I have is Newland Township, Section 4, an 84 by 50 inch, 84 inch by 50-foot arch culvert that was put in 2023, washed out, and was, I don't know if you guys saw the pictures, but was kitty wampus. It had to be removed, redug, relayed, and backfilled. That work repair came to, for DS Construction, came to $6,800. So we're asking for a motion to accept and repair that as well, or to pay that as well. I mean,
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pay that. Roll call, please.
Hodis.
Aye.
Frith,
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Wilhelmie.
Aye.
Bulk.
this next one I'm not sure on yet. We talked, we got it squared away today, I think, totally, but DS Construction quote to haul in place 80 yards of riprap and 40 yards of gravel. That's not what's on there, was for $3,000 on that site. They haven't done this yet. So I'm asking for a motion just to accept this quote.
That's $3,000 for
40 and gravel.
so moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to accept this. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I apologize if anybody got called over Ramsey County 3. It was a terrible paint job. I got called from a couple of residents and I drove it myself. I reached out to Daniel's office and told him I was refusing the work. So I called and talked with Dahlman Painting Company. They apologized. They had a new guy who wasn't unable to read center lines or something. It's very bad. So they are coming this week to black out the center and repaint the center. And then they're going to do a 6-inch shoulder stripe to fix the white at no charge. So they said they value our work and they want to keep our work. So they're going to make it right.
Good.
So, yep, that was that. And then the last thing I need for a motion is to order some cutting edges from Butler. The quote for 12 4-foot sections came in at $33.39.60.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to order the cutting edges. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I do have a question for you, Jason.
Yes.
The Prairie Road going into Prairie. Can you get a hold of those contractors to go clean up the pellets and all that stuff? I had an individual concerned when they mow, when they start doing ditch mowing, that they're gonna wreck their mowers because there's some concrete out there and some pellets and some iron.
And the
They
last,
take the road signs, they just threw them in the ditch.
did they take the signs off yet?
Yes, they just rolled them over.
Because it's not painted as far as I know. The shoulder lines aren't painted yet.
But so that's just a concern. When they start mowing, they don't wanna wreck their mowing.
Okay. I noticed, I was gonna ask Paul, because I was gonna bring Paul up now or we can do that when we go to the Fenster Slough thing too, I guess. But do you have anything other than Fenster?
Just on the paving project, just give you an update. They did finish paving, but they do have to still put permanent stripe on, put the gravel. And there's some approaches that'll need a little bit of gravel to smooth up or flatten slopes. So they know they have to do that, but their completion date is until September 26th.
And maybe the public's just getting a little bit ahead of themselves, you know, it's paved and everybody's excited about that.
Right.
They just don't want to wreck things.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't know if all that stuff is there. They wouldn't have had any pallets from the project for the.
Yeah, I don't know. We just drive out there.
Take a look. Yeah.
Yeah, and then as far as any metal, the only metal they would have would be skid mounted signs.
But it's from the road signs.
Oh, if it's like the T bases from the
right
portable signs, those might be there from the flagger signs and stuff that they're not using now. But yeah, they'll get their stuff out of there for sure. And then like I said, the completion date's not until September 26th, and we've been talking to them forever, every couple of weeks. And Greg talked to them last week, and they said they know they have to do it, and they're going to do the graveling before they move their plant out of here. While they still have people in the area, but they're not in. busy paving right now. They'll get to it here before the completion date.
Thank you.
Then the last thing I had that I didn't get in the agenda, but I did finish the self audit of the 2022 FEMA disaster 4660 for Ramsey County. I completed that last week. We were able to get an extension to get Hope Township's graveling that they just had done into that. So they'll get their FEMA funds that were granted to them in 2022. They will get that. So far so good. Nothing, no flags. And they had me submit our administrative costs for that. So that'll be another 85,000 roughly for the Ramsey County Highway Department.
Thank you.
To handle that. So that is done and completed on time with everything that was going on. It was a great time to have that come due.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep. Thank you guys.
Next item is HR. Nicole. We have her in Teams. Okay, we can. You guys want to move Fensters up before we? Are you okay with that, Nicole? Okay, we'll just move down to unfinished business and bring Fenster Slough since we have people here that probably are waiting for that. Jason, or who's? Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'm back. So, as everybody knows, I think Commissioner Frith let us know that the temporary drainage permit on Fenster Slough was denied. So, at this point, we're no further ahead in the game than we were 2 months ago or whatever when all this really started to impact the road. I was out there today and drove it all again and looked at it. Johnsons are still doing a really good job on any little washouts showing up in the ditch there, getting a rock in there. I've been exhausting all avenues, meeting with Mr. Commissioner Brown, trying to figure out what ways the county can help with any of this, but without the permit, I don't know where we turn.
Talked to Daniel today. He had called me and he said regarding Fenster Slough and the drain application denial, his recommendation to the commission is to request a rehearing on the drain application denial. He's working on this, and he said it has to be to them no later than the 31st of July. So he plans on having that done as soon as he comes back from his vacation. He suggests not to move on to anything until we at least put this appeal.
Okay.
That was his suggestion. And I talked to Ed about this today. And it's not to put the people out there on hold. It's just, I don't know. He didn't really like the idea of moving on until he can at least put the appeal. Since we did ask for this, he wants to do the process so that it keeps us from getting in trouble.
So part of that appeal process could maybe be, Commissioner Frith had reached out last week and was just curious on a current project estimate for a grade raise on Ramsey County 4, so we could look at dollars and cents, to maybe add that to part of this process so they could see the cost impacting.
Well, when you have the guy there, is that something they consider a disaster yet, or it has to be 100% over?
On 4?
Yeah.
The sad part about that is that's a federal aid road, so that doesn't qualify for the North Dakota DES side. So Paul did get the estimate together. Paul, I don't know if you want to share, his IWI system was down, but he did get the county road looked at.
Yeah, so I guess I just did a really rough cost estimate to raise the road down by Fritz there, south of County 2, up to the same elevation as the rest of the road when we built it back in 2012. It's at 1501 and a half there, and it's 1490. It was a 3.5 foot grade raise, 98, right around there, 90. And the outlet elevation is about 99. So I mean, it would go over the road before it would outlet. But it like Jason said, it has to be over the white line with the water before federal highway will participate in the cost for it. So if, as an ER, emergency relief funding, not through FEMA, that would be through the federal government and state.
So a rough estimate to raise that section of road?
Oh, about in the ballpark of 2 million. I guess IWI site was down last week.
Yeah.
It started up again. It worked yesterday, so this afternoon I put it back together. And, it's about a half mile of paving and gravel, and then the borrow.
Okay, you're going from where to where for 2 million?
It's about a half mile, just right around.
South of Fritz?
Yeah, just right around there where it's low.
And you're gonna raise it how far?
3.5 feet to start, 0 to 3.5 feet back to 0.
And go down to the section line then? South?
Past that, I believe. Right?
Yeah, it was past that
Okay.
that next intersection. I mean, you'll see when you drive out there. It's where it.
So then the section line road or the township road going back to the west would have to be raised as well, correct?
Correct.
Or abandoned it?
Or abandoned, yeah,
Right.
because
That's up to the top.
yeah. And the reason I asked Jason to take a look at this, anytime we do a cost share request at DWR, we take a look at the do nothing cost, and this is the do nothing cost, is the $2 million to raise that road. And so substantially different than.
And that's where we come in at the 19.07%
Right.
or whatever, would be like $380,000. Quick math.
Yep.
Of our local share would go to raising that road.
Yeah, and I guess when we did submit, we worked with the water board back in 2014 on the same Fencer Slough outlet potential and got rejected at the state level there because of the statewide significance. It didn't seem to matter. We did put cost to that, what the grade raises would have to be, as justification, and it didn't matter.
Right.
They didn't get past that letter.
And the sad thing we're doing, we raise the road, we're not doing anything with Chris Yard.
Right.
That's their problem, I guess. But
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, I mean, to move the water, the answer.
Yeah.
I've had.
Excuse me.
Move the water saves $2 million.
Saved.
And that's some. Yeah.
Right, and that's only on the road. It's not counting all if there's structure damage.
Well, and I've had conversations with farmers as far north as the Brockett area on Ramsey County 7 that are actually holding water right now, not to take that road down. If they let the water go from 7 clean down there, everything between there would go underwater, and then of course 4 would go underwater as well, and they use that road as well. So they're trying to hold back what they can to keep it from overtopping 4 and the township roads in between.
Until they get a rain.
No, and then they can't hold it. So today when I drove it, I would say it's down slightly, just with, I suppose, some evaporation. It's been so hot and windy, but I mean, it's still right lapping at the bottom of the asphalt. But it's not its highest as it was. I didn't have time to shoot elevations on it today. I would have liked to have just set up the laser and tell us what kind of freeboard we have, but I just wasn't in the cards. I got out of there late.
Yeah. Working overtime.
It's really frustrating. I know you're one of 8 down there. Frustrating the reception we're getting from the State Water Commission is actually embarrassing for North Dakota, I think, especially up here where we've had water problems for going on 30, 35 years. I mean, it's damn embarrassing, I think. And deny us here. How much more new water came in the last 3 weeks in Ramsey County? And it came out of the sky. Who can predict that? Nobody can predict that. Nobody can predict this. We predicted how many years ago we built
Right.
County 4 along Fenster Slough. I mean,
Well,
it wasn't that we weren't prepared, but whoever would have dreamt it was going to go this high.
Well, and like Paul just stated, he tried to take it that high then, and they denied it. Then in 2014, they were the water board and whoever, himself and Kevin, whoever was all involved, they were forward thinking to get it to that right elevation so it could So it could flow out without taking the road, and that was denied in 2014 to go that high. So
Powers be knew better than all of us, I guess. So
yeah, I've done some speaking with Levi Otis. He's a drain tile expert, I guess I would call him. I don't know what you would want to say. I mean, there's been some conversations had there about different possible legal drains and things like this. But again, once you get out of the county right away, which we'd have to do some stuff in our right away, but to make those things work. But then it, you know, falls into township hands and things like that. So yeah, I really don't know. I wish I had an answer, but
Our hands are kind of tied until we.
well, encourage what our state's attorney working on, get back. Hopefully we can have some answers by the end of the month. We'll have a special meeting. We have to move forward. Right.
Really all we can do as of at this point, and hope that we don't get rain in 2 weeks. 3
well, that's the other thing.
I personally feel the road at Frisk will go under before it freezes out this fall. I really think it's going to go. It's going to eat it to death, that water.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if it's going to go underwater because you can't project that, but I can say that it's not going to hold up through harvest. I don't think with all that water right there. I mean, that's pretty safe. I mean, could have Paul look at that a little better and give us an idea, but that roadbed is saturated, beyond saturated.
And I think Mr. Tronson's reply to the denial was spot on, and that harvest is upcoming, and the number of the traffic, the amount of traffic that road is expected to handle. There's no secondary roads that will handle that type of traffic. I think it's, you hit the nail on the head, and it's embarrassing for the state to have this. And with that, I guess I would go ahead and make a motion to follow our state's attorney's recommendation of filing an appeal with the Department of Water Resources on the denial of this application.
He did ask if we want to use our letterhead or his.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll let him know. But we got a motion. I'm sorry, Jeff.
No.
So, we got a motion. We got a second. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
I will, motion carries. I'll make sure I contact him and let him know we need to get that moving as quickly as possible so that, and everybody out here that needs that road, we got to all work together and send our voices that way, because I think everybody at this table feels the same way as you guys do. Because our hands are tied.
I do have one question, maybe Jeff, you can answer, or maybe anybody at the table can answer. I've been asked by several different people who or what would generate to sue the state. You guys have any idea, or is that a Daniel question? Who or what could move forward to sue the state on this issue?
Or local representatives.
Is that who would have to take it forward?
I mean, they should be carrying the ball for us every day.
Because I don't know. I think they.
And I think it starts with this process right here. So they'd come up and do a hearing, and then if that is denied, then we can appeal it to district court.
Okay.
And then from there,
That's what I was trying to figure out how.
and from there the wheels would continue.
I just.
That might be the only way we get any traction.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I just always say I don't know. I'll find out, and I always forget to ask. So because I don't know. I've never been in this situation with.
We had a meeting at the college. It was well attended. State people were there. Evidently, they carry that back either.
Right.
And I agree. I agree with you, Ed. You're sitting on the board and stuff, and it's like you're always the last to know.
Right.
Thinking that you're on that board, you think we would be on top? And
no, I would think that I'd be the first to know too, and
so we could share that.
Yeah, I was notified at the same time anybody else was. So it's aggravating, it's frustrating, and I would certainly encourage those private individuals that are incurring costs to help us with our roads to make sure that you keep track of that, whether it be number of loads or the time or the money that you are spending to help Ramsey County or your townships build up your roads. That we need to keep track of those costs.
And I was going to talk with Mr. Tronson about that. We can we can be paying for those materials right now, you know. So that's nothing we have to wait for federal funding for a few loads of
Yeah,
rock.
but I think we need to take the steps to ensure that that road doesn't go under. Dumping rock on the side of it or whatever else.
What do you think, Brian? You've done some road work in your life, so.
All right. Well, thank you.
Rock would help on the side. Now,
I think you're allowing the government to work backwards and ultimately townships followed by county, followed by your state.
Yeah.
Put it in the township's hands and back them because they are your bosses. The way the Constitution is written, the township is your boss.
right?
Yeah.
Let it run. If you were 3 weeks from harvest, I'm not a farmer. I could give a shit about that road. But it's stupid. You know, $2 million, that's peanuts. It's $20 by the time you fall the damages around there, you know. You build it again, flood 3 more barns, 2,000 more acres before it blows out. I don't know where it blows out. I'm not part of any of this, but I got training 8 days. So $45,000 go through all this. There's some laws that you can find and think back some laws. This is very smart. And you can manipulate these laws that they've gotten through. If the power to be put in law, manipulate what's going on. There's some other laws. You can manipulate through grand fine. Take back some stagnant and take charge. I know that's big words because it's not like I don't crap, but
You think we should just go ahead and do it then? That's what you're saying?
you know, you're letting somebody 1,000 miles away destroy your county just so Canada wants, what's the cause of all this? Is it just the water for everything in Canada? Is it, where's the priority here? Priority should be, these people right here.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
And what are the consequences? Are the consequences of the state getting mad at you or whatever but there's an easy path. I got it mapped up. One way is temporary, we call it. There's a better way would be permanent. 5 times more money. But I mean, we're talking $50,000 and then going back for nothing. Because we're month from harvest, 3 months from freezing. That's my opinion. And I'm not saying that for one guy, not necessarily, but if I was asked these guys. So to be clear, what has to be since we're a township, it has to be township. County can't supersede the township.
County can't supersede the township. No.
I mean, I know you guys know where this township we have approved by getting the board. Does that township have funding? They would be paid for fully on this temporary private donation. Some townships with the money. And I ran the course of fish line. We have to go in, even though they can't give us the official go in because they know it's been denied. So, Fish and Wildlife clear. That water that's 2,000 acres doesn't drain overnight.
We're still standing down through 60 and 230-inch culverts at best. You know, so it's got to be controlled. I mean, we don't just flush it.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm all in favor of it. I think I've told people to go in, but we can't wait for the state. Like I said, I think that Frith Road could break up, freeze up.
Not only that, just think about that road. So the temperatures are freezing, the water's like every vehicle that you're not going to be able to drive on it, you know, sand and salt.
Right.
You know, they get control in lane 12 with that water or the spray going on it with school started.
Yep.
They're all better reasons than whatever the reason the state does to say no.
Is there an identity that supersedes the state water board decision?
Governor.
The governor?
Yep.
So he can make an executive order and it's done?
Yeah.
Yep.
What are we waiting for?
Doesn't answer his phone.
I'll make some calls.
I think we've done what we can at this meeting. We'll do it. We'd have to have a special meeting, and not to say that the township can't do something, but that's not
Right.
for us to decide. You know, as you said, they supersede us.
And we've decided to appeal the decision, and we'll let Daniel take care of that appeal process and let it.
I mean, once we can get the appeal on their desk, then we can be like, this is what we did, brought you back the appeal. Why no answers? Why the same? You know, to tell us in the reading a disaster can't precede another disaster. Well, when I look at it,
With the monitoring,
Yeah.
water starts moving at a certain.
I would assume so.
It's evaporating.
So
14
Let's give the state attorney some rope and see if he can get answers. But not a lot of it.
I'll call them tomorrow and tell them that it's got to be done ASAP.
I think we gotta give them a chance. I don't want to lock us into something that, or ourselves lock into something that we're in the wrong. Let's let him have a little time and do that. I know we're anxious to move that water, that's for sure. But let's do it that way.
Okay, so with that, since it's new, we voted on to let the state's attorney do his job, I guess, if you want to call it that. The next item would be Nicole. Thank you guys for all coming. Appreciate it. Good evening, Nicole. I guess the mic is yours.
Let me try that again with my mic on. Sorry about that. Good evening, it's Nicole Bachgard. I work as the human resource consultant for Ramsey County and Lake Service Zone. And there might actually be two items on the agenda to address. Is the courthouse evacuation plan on the agenda tonight?
No.
Okay, well, that didn't happen, so we won't talk about that one. That will be coming your way soon. If you have questions, we can discuss. So the bigger reason, or the main reason then for me joining you tonight is at the last meeting, there was some discussion and probably some confusion surrounding the current salary chart and in some unknowns probably of how that chart works and what goes into that chart. So I had asked Candy to print off a copy of the current chart so that each of you has that in front of you. Is that something that everybody has?
Yes.
Okay. So I've had a couple of phone conversations with Blaine since I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I should acknowledge your spot, since the last meeting. And so he and I have stepped through some of these things. I think there were some pieces about this model that maybe not everyone understood. And there also was some work that never really got assigned in the last year that has put us a little bit behind. But I'm just going to go through the layout real basically because then I want to talk about the work that needs to be done. When you look at the top of the page, top left-hand corner, you're going to see 2025 step scale with job titles. Under that, you'll see YOS, which stands for years of service. The next box is step. After that, you'll see grade and a percent sign. Then on the very first column under grade, you will see the grades themselves starting with 1. And the next first words you'll see are maintenance tech. That is right there essentially the job that is in grade 1. Heavy line, a 2, 3 listed there, highway maintenance 1, admin assistant extension and deputy recorder. Then the 3B is that line. So that's how you read what job is in each grade. It continues on. Hopefully you were able to get it printed so that you have 4 pages. And if you can set them side by side, the 14th grade is empty. So that does sometimes get a little confusing as the grade right above or right below. I've added a couple details in here to make this a little less confusing than it was originally. So let's go back up to the top. The years of service. You have a policy that says that you can hire up to, I believe it is step 5. Sorry, I close this to get it out of my way. Yeah, step 5. So you have a policy saying that you can hire up to step 5. So that's the second list of numbers that are there. Not the top one is years of service. The second one is the steps. Okay. And then you'll see that I added in what is actually the third column. I added in the 2024 rate, the 2025 rate, and then the 2025 monthly. Now that wasn't there before. So truthfully, up until even earlier today when I was talking to Blaine, I kind of just always assumed that that was a hiring range. And it didn't make a lot of sense to me why it wasn't any bigger than it was. but I just basically looked at it and said, oh, it's a range, it is what it is kind of thing. And then when I looked again at all the formulas, it looks like it is the 24 salaries and then the 25 salaries with a 3% increase are calculated on the same sheet. As I've gone back to look at past salaries, they didn't have double lines like this. So this was more just of an informational one that had these dual lines. So one of the biggest questions has been, well, how come we don't know what a step is going to cost? And that answer comes in, if you look at where it says grade and then the percent, as you go across to your right, starting under where years of service 1 is, you'll see how there's 3% in a row, and then 2.5, 3 of those, and then a random 1.98. And depending on if yours is in color or how it's printed out, that 1.98 line is also grayed out and called market. Well, the reason that this gets very circular is the steps are varying across the entire model. And there's a 44% spread, and I've added that formula in at the very edge, and it's a 44% spread across all the salaries. So there is an even spread, which could be good, could be bad, depending on what your goal is. But you have a consistent spread. And to have 25 salaries, but to only have a 44% spread, it's pretty easy math to go, well, there's no way these salaries are 3% each. So I have not been able to find in any of the documents that I've found where there was ever any guidelines given of how to actually use what was developed here. And so I think that what has happened is you have used a combination of many different methods throughout the years. And we've gotten to a point now this year where the average difference between where an employee's salary says they should be in a grade and where they numerically were. So I took their 25 grade because I feel strong about where they were on that sheet. I adjusted where I felt they would have been 26 manually. And then I looked at where they would be if we moved them one step. Well, the average that we're off right now is 7.7 steps. And there's a multitude of reasons. And one of it is the scales themselves haven't moved since 2025. Because I had no idea that I was the one that needed to move the scales last year, because I didn't start until August. And I didn't even really look at this until earlier this year. It all came up through kind of like a side conversation with Jason Kraft about somebody out of his department. And then I started looking at it and realizing that there was all sorts of issues within it. But you've had this step model, but you've also now, in the last year, you've done a negotiation for your state's attorney, which has modified his step. You've, in your highway department, set a starting salary that is higher than what the range is and higher than kind of this max of what the policy allows. So we've greatly amplified where those employees are. And then we've also modified some deputy salaries. We just processed a change within another department that was called a title change, but a title change normally doesn't have a salary change tied to it. and this one did. So there's just a lot of movement that just kind of happens. And it seems like, oh, it's just one one-off. Well, except that one one-off in each of these areas has caused a lot of issues. There's less than 10 people that really kind of even are close to matching up with where they should be anymore on their steps. So I think that you can see the yellow boxes on yours. Can you see those couple of yellow boxes that come through?
Yes, they're there.
Yep. Okay. All right. So if you go to grade 3 and you see where I've yellowed those boxes, that's primarily to show these highway maintenance jobs.
Correct.
And I want to say that the thing about HR is it depends which HR hat I'm wearing at which time. So when I'm wearing my compensation hat, I'm like, this is what this has done and how it's caused other issues. If I'm wearing my recruitment hat, I say, we probably need more money in salaries to get to hire. So I understand that HR itself causes some of this conflict, and that as a board, you're trying to take in all these pieces. But this is what's happened here. That $25 an hour that we decided was kind of that second step, that second level. You'll see that I have that in 2 different areas because we don't have great clarification right now who exactly that's applying to. Well, on the grade 3, that puts people at a step 12 or 13 based on their salary. On the grade 4, it puts them at 25, at a 8 or a 9. So what I can't tell, because of how you guys are doing this, is does their step, I think I said that wrong, puts them on a step 12 or 13, and it puts them on a step 8 or 9. Does their step, if they're going to get a step increase, do they stay at the step that belongs with their actual years of service based on when they started? Does their step follow them to whatever their current salary is? Is it some combination of all the above? Because if we hired a couple new people in September of 2025, August, September of 2025 in the highway department. One of them has a CDL. He's getting increased dollars. So should he then, now that he's making about $25 on this chart, should he be a step 1 or possibly step 2 going into 27 and get a 3% increase? Or if he's at $25, should he be a step 8 and only get the 1.98% increase? Because I don't know what your intention is when you take and just pick dollar amounts and that they're not at the max of that or that actual salary.
Nicole, because the way I understand, excuse me, the way I understand this is when we went to put these people at $25, you just gave them credit, 11 years experience.
No.
Yes, according to this chart. According to this chart, that's what it did. What she's saying, that's where it messed up.
That was where the chart got messed up. But the whole reason for doing the $25, it doesn't matter if I did 2486 or 2509 to fall on the chart. We skipped all the years of experience. We just went right to that area to get the people in the door to do the job.
And that's understandable.
Right.
But what she's saying is now that we gave them the 12 years experience, do we leave them at the 12 years experience so that the step, as you see, would be 1.5%? So last year,
right,
for instance, and I brought this up the last 3 years, and nobody would listen. When we gave a 3% COLA, and if someone was at step 8, they were getting a 5% raise. And that's why it is so difficult with this chart for you managers to try to set your budget, because the chart that we're using, and that's where I was getting frustrated, because I was always, your steps are set, right? Not knowing how the chart works. Our steps are set. If I say we're going to give you a step, the step is already set, and we're going to do a 3%. Well, you would take that 3% and put it across all the steps for the following year to having a starting. But according to this chart, it doesn't work that way, because you got some at a step get 3% plus whatever a COLA is. Some get 1%. Some, that's messed up as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I got to.
But that's why I've been talking to Nicole. How do we go about fixing it, since we have put people into these years and it throws off all the steps for all the other employees that are working for us?
Okay, Blaine, just let me finish one more piece here. So there's a couple things. You have a chart that wouldn't necessarily have to be that hard to maintain if you had an HRIS system that maintained your chart for you. You don't have that. So and it wasn't set up with formulas that you could just go in and say, here's our new starting wage, and everything is going to calculate on that. That's what I'm working on. And I've spent a lot of time over the weekend doing this, and I've done a ton of comp work, so I can do that. But I don't know that I think that that kind of model is the model that best supports a county of your size, because the Mountain Lakes Human Service Zone isn't in this group. So we're down to 60 some employees here. So I will gladly do this, and it gives me probably a little more job security than I even want. So I just want to say, I'm not saying I can't do this. I can certainly do this, but the problem is you really need to know what your COLA is going to be, because you have to move the chart to be able to know what you're going to give for steps. So it's a multi-step process here, because if you're moving your wages every year, you got to know if you're moving the chart to know if the wages move. So you can't really figure out even what a step costs until you've decided on a COLA adjustment. And so that's where this whole thing becomes very circular. And I'm not sure exactly how strong of budget numbers you were always getting and how you were budgeting for those open positions, because that makes a big difference what realistic numbers you're using for those. Because that's really what bails you out, is that you're not fully staffed for very long, because there's always some movement. I mean that's just turnover. That's nothing against Ramsey County. That's every employer. But that's kind of where your wiggle room comes from. But then in those years, you also have to pay out vacation balances, and in your case, you sometimes have to pay out some sick leave. So there can be even a higher salary line there. So first point is, I do not want to rip apart something that you paid Gallagher to do in 2021, 22. But I don't know that this really supports what you're doing, because if you guys go and you look at where it switches to step 15, now we go to a 1% difference for 4 steps. Then now we drop it down to a 0.75 and a 5. So that whole end of that chart, there's very little math left after you get to an 18. And from the research that I've done, very few public sectors are using anything beyond a 20. The reason that many have stayed at a 20 instead of going to a 15 is it does spread out your cost a little bit. And you can do a 2% a year over 20 years and be at that 40% spread where you're already at a 40, what did I say, 44%. So your width isn't that different. We have to get your chart moved a couple of years forward. We're having a very, very hard time hiring. Part of that is because we haven't adequately moved this. The moves that we did make, as Jason was saying, is that we needed to get some people in here. I think that the highway maintenance one is probably,
but if we
could have pulled back a little bit on that level and then looked more at 2s and 3s, which is really what we ended up doing anyhow. So we can probably modify that a little bit. And we may need to do a smaller increase for some of the people who already got these bigger adjustments.
So Nicole, what I'm getting out of this is until we fix this chart with the corrections, once the chart is fixed, it could work moving on. And since it hasn't been fixed since 24 is why you needed to move those individuals to like step 11 to get that amount of money.
Exactly.
Where if this chart would have been fixed, we probably would be following our policy or be right at that market value.
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't even look at the chart.
You know,
I didn't care about the 11 years. I picked a figure that was competitive to what everybody else was going, and I brought it and pitched it.
If the last 2 years we would have taken that 3%
Right
on there, you would be at that number and we wouldn't be in this mess.
Right. No, I understand.
You were hiring at market probably on the level 2, but your model says we want it to take 7 years to get to market. I don't know that that's realistic for you guys anymore, is to say we're going to wait. We're going to expect people to wait 7 years to get to market. I don't know that you have that luxury because you have a fair amount of competition. Now, the other thing is that your current employees are not in a pension plan anymore. They're in a defined contribution plan. Anybody who starts after 2025 has a lower benefit than your employees before that, and they are no longer in a pension plan. So they have a 3% variability depending on if they elect to have a 3% contribution, they get a match. And that is very hit and miss. I try really hard to get people to acknowledge how important that is, but there's a lot of people who do not take that additional 3%. Now that saves you some money budget-wise, but it's also putting one of the long-term things of public service has been how rich that benefit plan was, and that there was a defined benefit paid. That defined benefit plan is closed. Nobody is going into that anymore unless they're already in it. So you are contributing less to retirement for new hires than you have before. And that's not built into this model, and I don't know how you model your retirement costs, but you don't have level retirement costs across the board because you have different costs for sheriff's department, and then now you have different costs within the rest of your employees because it depends which plan they're in.
Another situation. Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole. I had a question for you.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Jason here. So like in my situation is a unique one, but like I'm just saying Rhonda's here. She might run across this at some point. That department, all the different departments could see this at some point. I worked for the Ramsey County Highway Department now for 29 years on December 1st. I'll be a supervisor for a year and a half. I'm going to be maxed out in my in the superintendent position due to the fact that my years of service pushed me there when I got my new raise when I took the position. So once again, under this current model, there's no room for growth for a new supervisor who just took a newer position with more responsibility. And it's not just me, it could happen in any department, but I'm just sharing that as an example.
But
when I got looking at this today,
there is room for growth.
the cost of living raises it.
If I give you a 3% cost of living, right?
Yep.
At $40 an hour, I'm just throwing numbers out there. And I have someone that you just hired at $25 an hour who gets a better pay raise.
Right. But Wayne, what I'm trying to say is a guy who worked here for 1
year. It equals out.
No,
I guarantee it.
because if you took a job here at 1 year, you get a 3% raise also. So if you've worked here for 30 years or 1 year, if you take a new position and more responsibility, why don't you get you can't start over though, because of where my wage was, I was too high to start over.
You didn't start over.
I know that.
You got to.
But then what's my incentive just to get my cost of living raise? I could have stayed at a road foreman and got my cost of living raise.
At some point, you have to have that, otherwise you'll go broke.
But you still have to incentivize the help you have.
At some point, okay, so the state put us on a 3%. The state put us on a 3%, right? Cap. We can't go out there and say to our patrons, you are going to pay 10% more in taxes because we got to give raises. There's no way.
I understand that part.
Never come up.
I understand that part. But when you went from staff surgeon to whatever your rank or however that ever works, there is a increase that comes with that, and then you start within that department to work towards that grade.
Get maxed out. I've been maxed out for 10 years.
But in your current position, if you were to go another level up, what would happen? You would go into another pay scale.
Nope. No. I'd go into another pay scale, but I would do just like what happened to you. If I was maxed out in this pay scale, I'm only going to go to the level. There might only be one more step. Just no different than what we did. I understand
So
what you're saying.
Jason is pointing out what is another issue that has happened here, and that is certain jobs, and it appears to be certain jobs in one department in particular, instead of maxing out like this is written, they just moved to a higher grade, and so the grading in those jobs is off because they all seem to be graded higher than their peers.
Oh,
so
right, yes.
What should have happened in those situations is that you get to a point where you probably are at the max of your scale, and then you have to sit there until, as we move the scales move with you, and you are not always going to have a lot of increase because you hit the max, and part of it is not everyone stays long term. Now, in my list of things that we need to talk about, one of the things you need to look at is that you have some very long-term employees, and there are some ways to look at some positive ways to show appreciation to those employees and still stay within a budget and continue to give some level of increase to those employees. But what should happen when you get a promotion is that you should go up a certain amount or percent, but you don't stay at the step you're at because your years of service are not in that position. So if you are in a job that's at $35 an hour, and in your new role, $35 an hour is, say, a grade 10, you would either get, say, a 5 or 6% increase, whatever you decide that is, or go to the next step beyond, right beyond that. And normally you get the greater of whichever that is. That isn't necessarily how this has been working in the county, because you've been giving people these jumps as if they had all the years of service in the new job. And that's not how steps are set up to work. They're set up that you go to the entry point and then you move forward to wherever your Candyland card tells you to go, and then you get the better of one or two options, but you don't get to go all the way to the line of where you had been, because your years of service aren't comparable. Now, that's how this kind of model works, but I'm not finding where there's necessarily directions for that. The other thing is, you don't necessarily get a full COLA. And get this, because part of what this has built into it is a little bit of that COLA model, or a little bit of that, are we going to do this as our COLA? Like, is the step the COLA? Or are we going to do something that is a smaller COLA and then the step? So it's not very clear which model you're using. And that's what I'm saying. You're using so many different kinds of models that you've kind of just made a mud pie here. And I will help put together whatever it is that you want, but I don't think you need a 25 step thing that, you know, can be easily confusing and is really hard to budget with, because I don't think you have a big enough system to support it.
And when we went and moved all these people around, we basically took the years of service in the county and threw them right out the window.
Well,
We all did.
right.
Daniel did, you did, the office did, the sheriff did. So you can take this, as far as I'm concerned, throw it away.
Yeah, I agree.
Years of service don't mean squat. Like when you got your promotion, part of that reason is our last HR, I'm going to throw them under the bus, did not put the 3% in where it was modeled to be. And if he would have did that, we could have taken where you were, would have showed a bigger number, so then it would have looked like you went to a different step instead of going right to the max.
Well, yeah, because he
It's
just moved.
broke because it was never, didn't do his job. Plain and freaking simple.
I don't, and the thing is, and I've told you this before, very few people know enough about all the different aspects of HR to do all those things. I spent very specific amount of time in compensation that I was able to even dig out kind of what this is. And so, I mean, I've been a comp manager for many years and know the theories behind comp because I've studied comp. You've got to understand what all the pieces are, and you've got to know different models. And so if you just take and start making your own assumptions, everybody gets to make their own assumptions. And if you were like, well, I get to do one thing like I used to do it, and I get to do one thing, and this is where we end up. And the years of service has very much been diluted in certain cases because we've said, well, it's hard to hire. But what is our definition of hard to hire? And what is our definition of who gets to be you get more money because you're hard to hire? Because that is true case when I used to work for Community First Bank Shares, technology was really a hard area to get people to work in. So we had a pay scale that was separate just for technology. It was called our X scale. And so we had different scales for where you lived. So Colorado had a scale, North Dakota had a scale, all these. But then on every one of those scales, we also had an X scale, which was a higher percent for every one of those grades, because that was the premium we paid for technology in the mid-2000s, right? And so depending on what you're trying to do, but you can't just lump everything into the same thing always. And
so what's your suggestion to fix this, Nicole? How do we move forward?
One of the options is to look at going to a 20-year scale that just has a 2% at every level. I think that there's probably some clarity and some fairness in there. I think you're going to need to look at those people who are maxed out. They are normally called red circle salaries. Often they do not get their entire salary added on to their salary. They get a lump sum payment of some sort so that you don't continue to annuity their
Such as a bonus,
salary.
right?
It's essentially paid as a bonus. Most of the time I see that broken out. They don't get it all at the beginning of the year, because why would you give them their entire what I told Blaine earlier today is I only think that, you know, we need to get these salaries into 2027, which means they need to really be aged or moved essentially 6%, which is actually a little bit more than 6%, because they need to move up 3 for 26 and then 3 on top of that. So it's a little bit more than 6%. That really only is affecting a handful of people because so many people got something in addition to what kind of was planned in some way or another. So there's not that many people that really need an adjustment to get it. Even with STEP, we've got a lot of people beyond.
But it would fix the chart, correct?
It would fix the chart, and once it does that, it's going to shake up everybody's step again. But I don't know how important having steps are to you. One of the other things that I read said that if you go to a 20-year, that you only do you maybe do COLA every year, but you do any evaluation beyond a COLA. For those early entry people, you do that every year, and it's maybe not always a lot of money. And then you do it every other for the people that are higher in their range because they're already making more. And in this case, many of them are also on your richer retirement plan. But I think right now you only have about 2 to 2.25% of total anything to work with. And so I think we need to do that mostly as a COLA just to move these salaries and get them organized. I don't think there is necessarily money to plan to do a whole lot more than that. Because I just don't know where the money's going to be saved at to do more than, I don't know where you're going to have a 3% if you have a 3% limit on everything.
So could you, like I said, so could you put that model together so we could see it at our next meeting? Like have the chart fixed?
When is your next meeting? August 4th?
So that we can physically see it and we would know what it would look like.
As long as I know the assumptions that you want and we can go through kind of some questions that people have. And if there's anybody who really disagrees, I especially would like to hear why you're disagreeing and what questions you have.
Anybody?
And if anybody's talking, I can't hear it.
No. Anybody have any questions for
crickets?
No.
I thought water was complicated.
Well, it's because the chart hasn't been updated for a couple of years.
Well, I got a question. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Rhonda, is the social service still with this company?
No, the budget system of the Dakota legislature sets our compensations.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
So you guys are kind of by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even close to this system.
Yeah. We just are processing the zone changes, and they did 3% and 3% for anyone who was meeting expectations and was done with their probationary period, which is 6 months, right, Rhonda?
Yep, that's right.
And then 2% for anyone that's in training or a couple other things. But so in general, they had about a 3% increase across the board.
It's based on
that was legislated.
It's based on performance. You have to have achieving to get a 3%. If you have less, you don't get it.
That relatively pretty average yet? I mean, it just goes up, or you really got to screw up to lose it?
Yeah, 3, 2, and 1%. It's based on performance measures.
which don't always work.
Pardon me?
Which don't always work.
Well,
It all depends on who the
problem
There
manager is.
isn't a salary schedule in the world that's always gonna work for everybody. It just don't.
So my question, my question for you, Nicole, still is would there be a possibility to put something together for our next meeting so that we can see what the true figures should look like on this chart, so that we know where we need to go as far as a COLA?
Right.
Because the way it is now, we don't know.
well, what do you want me to move the chart for 27?
I'm not tracking.
She like
I
you
need
to know
move-
the COLA,
Oh, okay.
right?
And you suggested that, I think it was a 2.25%, right?
Well, originally I had moved everything free because that you said that all the past. See, the thing is you have to decide if you're leading with your salaries for the next year or you're dragging your salaries. So are we going to drag last year's COLA into this year and we're not going to change our charts, right? Are we going to pull old salary forward and we don't move the charts until we decide a COLA and then it doesn't really come into effect until it's retro? That's easier to budget and that's easier to do things with because you have one thing set. Is it great for hiring? Probably not. Are we hiring into ones, twos, and threes anyhow? No. So why are we even using them? I don't know. I'm not the one who created the 25 grade chart. So, but if we're going to move the data, and that's why I said to you, what you move your chart and what your COLA is in my world, those have never been the same thing. We got directions to move the chart occasionally, maybe every 3 years, but we never just moved our chart with COLA. Because why do you have to have this whole big chart if it moves with COLA all the time? What is the point? Like everything is just moving all at the same time. So
I think the biggest reason something like this was brought to the commission's attention, because there was time where they didn't do a COLA. But I guess that all depends on what the budget allows. I mean, years ago, way before my time, there was times where there wasn't COLAs. There wasn't pay raises, you know, and even at my job, there was times where there wasn't funding there to do that. And that's my greatest fear is, are we coming to that again because of how we got capped at the 3%?
Well, if I could make a recommendation, I would highly like to see Nicole up here to explain this. And I would like to have it done at a special meeting where it's not a full commission meeting. And maybe even to further break it down is to maybe come up with a salary benefit committee that can work with Nicole to work through this process. Because we've been discussing this for 45 minutes and now we're nowhere closer than where we were when we started.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And really timing is of the essence. If we have to have a preliminary budget done by the 10th of August, then and we're not deciding on what a COLA is for anybody yet, how is anybody supposed to work on a budget?
Well, I can tell you what other counties are doing. If you talk about raises, that department does not get a raise. I know 3 counties that are doing it. They want a base budget. You come in, and I'm gonna use York because you have lots of money that comes and goes. If I say we're gonna do 3%, and all of a sudden we come in and boom, we're $500,000 over, are we gonna go after Jason because he has the largest budget and say, Jason, guess what? You need to cut your budget because Rhonda has a small budget. She can't cut budget. We need to know what the base budget is. I understand this 100%. And I've been telling you guys it's messed up.
It is.
But nobody will listen. We just want to give a step. Let's give 3%. And pretty soon people's taxes are at $10,000. And we're going to be into Grand Forks' situation. because that's what's happening there. They went from $10,000 to $15,000 in 1 year because a mess. And that's what I think. I don't want to be there. I think we need to fix it now before we get there. And it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair to Jason to say he has to give up $400,000, or even to the patrons that he's trying to look at what you're dealing with now. Imagine giving up 400,000. And I'm just using a fictitious number,
Right.
but that could come down someday to be like that. That's why this needs to be fixed. And I agree with you, Jeff. We've been talking about this, and yeah, we probably should have a special meeting so that we can get it fixed.
Let's have it prepare 3 different budgets. You know, our different pay scale.
And I'm cool with whatever. It's just I know that this is broke. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is definitely broke.
Well, too many, you know, every department head could have the guys, the pay scale
Where you're at.
to next year without anything, with 3%. You know, you just think total. I have 2 different columns. I give you total one and total the other times 3%.
Right.
That's what the increase would be with.
What was that, Nicole?
I've already prepped what just a 1, 2, and 3% COLA are, because that's easy now. It's the step and the movement of the ranges that is what we really need to work on. So I would say that the department heads need to only work on 2% as their max, and that other 0.25 or 0.5 is going to be the internal equity adjustments that we need to do to get this back in range. But I don't think anybody can plan or prep on anything higher than 2% right now.
And if we come
And
in, if we come in at that base budget and there's allowance, that's why it's a preliminary, and we're way below, and then we can come back and say, okay.
No. We can go down, but we can never go up from that preliminary go up.
Well, I've yet to see it.
What do you mean
I've yet to see us come into a
Well,
preliminary go down.
and that's why we're, yeah.
What do you mean you can't go up from a base budget?
No.
You can't, once you set your preliminary budget, you cannot go up from that. You can bring it down between August 10th and October, what is it, 6th? Between September and October, you can bring it down, but you can't go up from that preliminary because we have to send out preliminary tax statements based on that.
Right. No tax statements.
No tax statements, but
No.
no estimates either.
No.
Estimates don't have to go out either now.
No, that went to the wayside.
Oh, well, we still have to come up with a preliminary budget, correct?
You have to come up with a budget.
Yeah.
But that went to the wayside.
Yeah.
Now, August is where you have to send a notification to all of the taxpayers, letting them know of everybody's budget hearings.
So the estimate.
The estimate.
Yeah.
Well, they don't call
Okay.
it anymore.
They don't want to call it that.
Yeah.
But, and we have to send out a notice of when.
And we're going to have our preliminary budget here. Or our budget here. Sorry.
Yeah.
So your advice that I'm hearing from you, Nicole, was a 2%, and then work on this chart, which could be, it's going to definitely be more because you have to have your adjustments in there. That's what she's getting.
But I think it's going to be within that next 0.5 to 1%. I mean, it's got to be 3. I don't know how you possibly. I don't know that you have any option to go over that, do you?
Well, as long as the overall budget is lower than 3%.
But what are you cutting?
Exactly. That's
exactly
what I've been saying.
Yeah.
You can't just keep adding on the end.
Right.
And I hate to give the heads a number because I know exactly you're going to tell me I get 5%. I'm going to go back and say, you don't get this because damn well I'm going to give my employees 5%. Am I wrong? Do we got department heads sitting there? Am I wrong? You're not gonna cut yourself out of 5%, would you?
Well, we just got edit to cut 3%, so
But-
we cut $280,000
Right.
budget yesterday, so.
And that's what I'm saying, because that's what you were directed to do.
By the state.
But why would you cut salaries?
I didn't say to cut salaries. What I'm saying is you need to know what it
Cut
takes. You wouldn't cut salaries.
I
That's
know,
the key.
but you're saying a percentage, okay? But we're the ones who are keeping everything going. So if I have
Do
to
what you
cut
guys want.
something
Do
else
what you
out
guys
of my budget, I'm gonna cut something else out of my budget.
And how do you keep the doors open? So I'll tell you how you fix that, Candy. I will tell you how you fix that. Hear me out. I will tell you how you exactly fix that. Let's give everybody a 5%.
No.
When our budget doesn't come out, I have to come back here and I have to say, I'm sorry, but I have to let somebody go. Am I wrong? But it could happen because we are limited.
We are so understaffed right now.
Yes, but what happens when you're not?
We have
You can't look
never.
at that. You can't look at that. You're understaffed because
Bullshit.
I'm done talking with this. You guys decide.
Was it Jeff that made, or had a question or had a recommendation about having a separate meeting?
Yep.
I know that we have taken some time on this, and I hope that people understand this model at least a little bit better. I am happy to prep a model. What model do you want? Do you want to maintain this model? Do you want a more simplified model?
Would like more simplified, please.
Because it will be easier on the department head.
Well, it'd be easier on everybody, I think.
I think it'll be easier on everybody.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion for that?
If you'd like it to be one, I so move.
I will second.
So the motion is to have a less complicated going forward. Correct, Jeff?
Yep. But less complicated salary schedule.
All those in favor by saying aye? Carries. Thank you, Nicole.
When would you like to have a meeting?
Let's get a date.
Well, let's. How soon can you put something together?
How soon I can put it together, how soon I travel, can travel might be two different things
Yep.
here, so. Do you have any other special meetings already set that we could piggyback off of that I could zoom into that would work?
We don't have any special meetings, right? The only meeting that we have coming up would be our next commission meeting.
Unless you wanted to schedule a special meeting.
Right, I think that's what we're asking,
Yeah.
to schedule a special meeting.
Time of the day that you'd like to call.
Did you hear that, Nicole? What time of the day would work for you?
Mornings.
I could maybe come on Monday, the 27th, if that would work. I'd have to get a lot of work done before then, but I think
What time?
What time?
I could get at least preliminary pieces done if you guys could make something work on Monday.
What time would you like? Where's she from? Fargo. Fargo.
I'll probably come up Sunday night, so it doesn't matter. 8 or later.
Okay, what do you guys want? 8 a.m.? Yeah. 8 a.m. if that works.
Okay, in the commission room.
Correct. Yes. Thank you. I guess the next item was on unfinished business, standing committees, North Dakota Commissioners Association.
I don't have time to commit. I would like to, if the legislative one is always interesting.
Is there anybody that would be interested in any of these committees? No. Hearing none, I guess no one is interested at this time, so that kind of decides that. I think the 2027 budget, correct me if I'm wrong, we need to have that on Monday, and then I think we can move on with that. Unless you guys. That'd be fine with me.
I think that.
Okay. Moving on from there, visitors and delegations. Anybody? Hearing anybody got announcements?
Just a reminder about the representative Tuesday 20 site inspections.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Jason, yeah. I want to ask you, in terms of road closures, how many road closures?
Right. Yeah, we still have 28. 28? Yep.
Good to see you.
Huh?
Good.
We're very close to getting that. We should have within the team. Oh, by Monday, we're fixing those for the township. They're waiting. They're the basic. Before I can say Sure. I can be.
So,
Yeah. Just in case. Right. As far as.
Thank you.
either that or I'll just be good.
Yeah. It's my like you adjust your salary schedule.
This is the only thing that you decide. Okay, this one here.
No, it's just
This
for
one.
two. Yeah, two. I'm sorry. I'm just so frustrated.
I tell you what, it worked. There's 6% if we hire them. You understand. So this is what I'm saying. Everybody would get a raise.
It's like 20.
Because you here's some things.
I agree. I don't 25.
Nice to have.